Grace and peace to you from Jesus Christ, who teaches us how to learn and grow as children of God. Amen. Well, friends, at this point in our ministry together, I'm sure you know that I like to categorize and file stories of Jesus from the Gospels. And our story for today from Mark is no different, because it's clear to me that it deserves to be where I put it, filed under the heading, Things I Wish Jesus Didn't Say. In our story for today, a tired and probably grumpy Jesus is looking for a little respite. After feeding 5,000 people, walking on water, dealing with his not-so-bright disciples, and healing many people, Jesus is exhausted. So it seems he needs some time to himself. So once he is entire, he finds a house where he hopes no one knows him. Well, unfortunately for Jesus, he can't escape notice. A Syrophoenician woman, a Gentile, finds Jesus seeking healing for her daughter. But here's the kicker. Jews like Jesus and Gentiles like this woman didn't get along. This woman is an outsider, the other, so to speak, to Jesus. So when this woman approaches Jesus with her request, pleading for help in saving her daughter, how does Jesus respond? Well, by using an ethnic slur. Jesus calls her a dog. Now, I don't know about you, friends, but this is where I cringe, or where I might gasp or wince, thinking, what, Jesus? Because it is hard to make sense of this story when we hear of other stories where Jesus is loving, compassionate, kind, and caring in other gospel stories. In seminary, I was taught, don't try to save Jesus here. You can't, my Gospels professor told us. Don't make excuses for Jesus. In fact, I've heard many scholars and preachers try to justify or soften the language Jesus uses here. One such teacher called that serious theological and biblical gymnastics, when the reality of the matter is calling this woman a dog, using a slur, as Jesus does here, is the equivalent of saying something racist, as perpetuating a stereotype about another group of people. Now, I find it ironic that last week, Pastor Brock preached, do as I say and as I do. And here this week, Jesus says this. Hence my theme, be like Jesus? Should we do and say as Jesus does in this story? Probably not. So what is important here is sitting with this story, examining it, not walking away from it or ignoring what we don't like. Sure, friends, sitting with the discomfort of this story is hard. But this story and its lesson are worth our discomfort, because there is a lesson here that Jesus teaches us. But before we can get there, let's sit with this story and really examine what is happening. Because this story shows us Jesus, the human, the product of his time and location. This story shows us a Jesus who, like us, has conscious and unconscious bias, who, like us, holds prejudice against those different from himself. So, what does Jesus mean when he says to this woman, "Let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs"? Well, Jesus is explaining who his ministry is toward and who his ministry is for. Jesus' words of good news and his healing are for Jews like himself, not Gentiles, not outsiders like this woman. What happens next should also shock us, friends. Sir, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. She challenges Jesus. She throws his teaching right back at him and calls him out, saying, "Come on, man. When will your good news be for me? There is plenty of good news to go around. Preach the good news to me too." Because, friends, she probably heard the stories of Jesus feeding 5,000 people and there were leftovers. She probably heard stories of Jesus eating with tax collectors and prostitutes. She probably heard the stories of Jesus tearing down boundaries and doing unclean things. Friends, this woman is demanding that Jesus see the limitless possibilities of God's love and God's grace. She is demanding that Jesus widen the circle and break down the barriers between people like himself and people like her. She is demanding that Jesus show her and people like her who God really is. And friends, the lesson here, the nugget I want you to walk away with, is what Jesus does next, what Jesus says next. Because of your teaching, the demon has left your daughter. Jesus gives credit to her teaching and stands corrected. He accepts her challenge and grows from it. He learns from her about his own good news and how that good news is for more than just people like him. She shows Jesus his blind spots and prejudice, and he is opened to the fullness of the gospel. This woman and her teaching changes Jesus. And from here, Jesus doesn't go back to where he came from, to Galilee or Capernaum. His mission changes. He is rerouted. So to answer my question, we should be like Jesus. When we are challenged, be like Jesus. When we are showed our blind spots, biases, and prejudice, be like Jesus. And when we see the expansiveness of the good news, be like Jesus. Because we, like Jesus, still have room to grow. We, like Jesus, still have a few more things to learn. And we, like Jesus, will see the limitless possibilities of God's grace and God's love for all people. And friends, God really does mean all people. So thanks be to God. Amen.